Streaming. Got it. There we are. We are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the February 2022 Metaphysical Chat. So happy to have you all here. I don't think you could hear me. Can you hear me? Oh, I know why. I forgot to take my headphones out. Hang on. Oh my gosh. Well, that's a new one. There we go. So now you should be able to hear me. So if you're here watching, can you just let me know in chat whether you can hear me okay? I want to be sure you can hear. Hi, T-Barb. Thanks for being here. I'm going to have to do more of these lives, you guys, so that I can figure out how to make this whole process work smoothly. Hi, Susan. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate that. So you can hear me okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. So I guess we can tap dance for a couple of minutes and wait till a few more people show up. But tonight is all about metaphysical topics. I'm so excited to hear what your questions are tonight. Did you guys have a chance to listen to the new meditation, the one I just posted on Sunday? That's a really fabulous metamorphosis meditation journey with Metatron. It's just left me kind of gobsmacked. I hope it did the same for you. Danita, you heard it. Harry's mom, hi. Thanks for letting me know you can hear. Rachel, you heard. Nima, yes. Okay, awesome. So it just got posted on Medium about an hour ago. So if you're one of those people who actually likes to read it as well as listen to it, I'll give you the link for that so that you can read it. I actually like to, when I do meditations like that, read them first and then listen to them, because I don't know about you, but I find that I'm always anticipating what's going to come next so that I can't be as present in the moment doing the meditation. I was trying to get that up there for you sooner, but unfortunately that part's out of my control. I sent it to the publisher and I had to wait for them to hit the button. So they finally did, and it's live and available. But it's one of those meditations you could easily do more than once. It's very profound. And just the whole message about self-actualization, because we all need to understand now more than ever who we really are as a soul, not who we are as the skin suit, you know, the world sees us as. It's who we are as a soul, because when you know that and you understand it, the way that you interact with others and the entire world is going to change in marvelous ways. It will expand your love and your heart so phenomenally. It's just a massive, wonderful experience. Oreo girl, you loved it. Awesome. Angelita, hi, welcome. Susan, you're looking forward to listening. Awesome. Yeah, let me know what you think about it, because it was just one of those that was such a blessing to channel and then to share with you guys. Which reminds me of another thing I wanted to talk to you about. If you are active in the 21-day meditation challenge, you might have seen the replays from our Zooms or read in the group, the Facebook group, about how our people, after going through this process, they're starting to connect with their own ability to channel, which is like, yay, this is so what I've been excited about and waiting to happen. Because, you know, for years, people have come to me and it's like, how do I get my channel to open? You know, because I'll do a reading for them and I'll tell them, you are a divine channel. It's how you're wired. I see it in your Akashic records. And yet they struggle and they're not able to do it. And part of the problem is that for all of us, the way that we channel is going to be slightly different. So it's not like you can just put out this curriculum that's a one-size-fits-all thing. And that's why the meditation challenge is so perfect, because Metatron set you up to go through this process, to be relaxed, to be connected, to start receiving, and almost without your knowing it, suddenly you're channeling. You're getting things that are coming through and you know you didn't say them. They came from somewhere else. You either speak it or you write it. And that is just the most marvelous experience when you have that breakthrough. You start doing that. And then you probably will look back and realize, oh my gosh, I've been doing this all my life. I didn't know that was channeling, because that's how it very often is. You know, those words will come out. You don't realize they did come from somewhere else. Or some of those things will come through as thoughts. Maybe you don't actually speak them. And you don't realize that came from your guides. It was not your ego. So it's being able to understand the difference. It's huge. And that's what that process does for you. So amazing. T-Barb, a couple days ago, you woke up feeling energy outside of you, like a foot out from you, mostly from the chest, like your field has grown or something. Any insights? You're confused. Oh yeah, T-Barb, that's phenomenal. So when you wake up and you feel like there's a disconnect, like you're not all there, it's probably because you were astral traveling in your sleep. We all do that. And depending on what's going on with our past life stuff, we might be traveling to an astral plane to connect with somebody that we have old karma with. We might be traveling and just visiting another world, perhaps our home planet if we're starseeds, or any number of things. But, oh, and also soul school. You can be going to soul school while you're sleeping. You can travel there. So all that stuff is happening because your soul is this energy that's not asleep, right? It's your body that needs to sleep. So the soul is doing all that stuff while you're sleeping. And that's why sometimes you wake up and you're so exhausted because maybe you've had a really extensive, I don't know, Taekwondo lesson with your guides or something. Who knows what they might have had you doing, but that's happening. And sometimes what'll happen is you'll start to come back awake before your soul is all the way fully seated back in your body. Or if you ever had one of those dreams where in your dream, you're trying to wake up and you're putting all this effort forth and you're trying to pry your eyes open and you're just like fighting to come through the layers of darkness to wake up, that's when you are outside of your body and you haven't come back in yet. And that's why that experience happens. I used to get that many years ago and I didn't have a clue what it was about. And it was so reassuring to figure out that's actually what it was. And, you know, so it was nothing wrong because it is a little scary, you know, it's like, whoa, what's holding me in this dark place that I can't wake up? So when you know that, then you can be a little more comfortable with it rather, and just allow it to process. So let me know if that answers your question, T-Barb, because sometimes I can go off on a tangent and not get the whole answer. So happy to elaborate if you need more. Harry's mom, does fasting help in hearing your guides and angels? It can. It's one of those things that's kind of a, you know, personal. When I did the original 21 days, Metatron asked me to do that. And it was partly because I had been wanting to do it anyway, but I was having a really hard time sticking to it and getting started. So Metatron knew that if he asked me to do it as part of this project, that I would follow through. So I did. But no, it's not a necessary thing, but it can, I believe, enhance the experience. And of course, that's going to be different for everybody. So, and also there's many different ways to fast. I mean, you can do the ones where you have nothing at all except water. You can do the ones where you maybe have some more liquids. You can do the ones where you're only fasting for a certain period of time every day. That's the intermittent fasting. So there's no rules about that. It's lean into your intuition and do what feels best for you. That's why I made that note in the book. No, you don't have to fast to do this process. That was something special for me. But I did want to write that in the book because I wanted to show you that that can be something that shows up for you. Starfish, hi, welcome. Haven't seen you in a while. Awesome to have you here. Okay, you guys, so I'm at the bottom of your comments already. And we're only 8 minutes in. So start shooting those questions at me. What do you guys want to talk about tonight? And if you just got here and you didn't hear me talking about the new meditation that I posted yesterday, you definitely want to check that out. Let me give you the link for that. I already put the link for the written version, but I'll give you the link for the, where'd it go? Here it is, for the actual video. So if you want to listen to it. I think the thing that blew me away the most about that meditation was you know, you went through all this adventure to learn about the whole invisibility concept. And then you get to the end where you're standing embraced by Metatron and you're in this cocoon. And then you come out, you go through this whole metamorphosis, being reborn in this meditation. That was mind blowing for me. So I don't know about you guys, but I am looking forward to hearing what you feel about it. Harry's mom, you've been feeling doing a bone broth fast would enhance the experience. It very well could, because you know, what happens is that while you're doing that fasting, you get the hunger pangs and then you remember why you're doing it. It's that spiritual journey that you're on. And it helps to, I think, keep you going for one thing, helps you stay on it, but it also just, it tunes it in, and you've got more time when you're not worried about making food. So there's lots of benefits to it. T-Barb, it feels more like you can't see auras, but what auras look like the energy is bigger, sticking out of you farther. And another reader did say that they thought it was astral. Yeah, because think about this as far as the aura goes. So there you are, there's your body, and you've been outside your body as the soul. And when you start coming in, of course, that soul is going to have that glow around it. You're going to see your soul as energy. So it could look like many things depending on, you know, your belief system and what you allow yourself to see. But that makes perfect sense that you would see it as, you know, a larger body than just your physical 3D body. So you know what you could do, T-Barb? You could go into a meditation, connect with your guides, and ask them to share with you what that's about. What is it that you were doing when you were out of your body? That would be really fascinating to delve into that a little bit and ask them to enlighten you. Warrior Girl asks, what do you know about beings from other planets, if anything? Well, what I know, because this is what I was taught, is that there are 22 different soul groups, one of them being Earth. And most of us who are light workers did not originate on Earth. We originated elsewhere. We had many lifetimes. And then at some point we started incarnating here on Earth, because right now for souls, Earth is the most fascinating place to be because of this expansion that we're going through. So it's a great place to grow, expand, and, you know, be a part of something really larger than yourself, and quite exciting, the, you know, the evolution of humanity. So in those 22 groups, some of them are names you've probably heard of, others maybe not. There's a planet called Mintaka. It's a water world. So the beings that live there live in the water, and there's no darkness because on that planet, the sun shines through all the way to the bottom of the ocean floor. So for Mintakans, they sometimes will find when they're here on Earth and they encounter like an ocean or, you know, a big body of water that has that dark water, you can't see the bottom. It causes them a bit of anxiety because it's just unknown and creepy to them. It's so unusual. Then, of course, you probably heard about Palladians because there's so many of them hanging out here on Earth trying to help us. And they're the kind of people that are just really adventurous. They're putting themselves out there. They're the ones who will leap before they look. They get all these grand ideas and they just want to run and do them. They're not so good at actually implementing, but they love getting things started and they love celebrating at the end. They just need to find people to help them do the center part. So doesn't that make sense that they would fit right now so well on Earth? Because they can come, they can get the people all excited, get them on their team, start moving forward with whatever the project is they're working on, and then let the people do the major part of the work as it comes to fruition. Then they can all celebrate together. There are also people from the planet Sirius. My planet is Alpha Centauri. And what I know about that planet, because I actually visited there, I wanted to know more about it because the information I had was, you know, minuscule. That's kind of an industrialized planet where there's not a lot of emotion. It's more, you're kind of almost robotic. It was really kind of a jarring scene to encounter. So the people are all dressed the same. They all go out every day and do whatever it is that their occupation is. And it reminded me a little bit about those dystopian movies that we've seen. I can't remember the name of it. You guys probably know the one where the kids are all brought up in these regimented families. And when they reach age, they have to choose which group they're going to be with, whether it's the one they grew up in or another one. And Shailene Woodley, I believe, was the star of one of those. I can never remember the name of it, but it's that kind of a feeling. So anyway, that was really interesting for me because I had always through my life felt kind of detached emotionally and judged myself that meant there was something wrong with me. But then I found out that's how people on my planet are wired. They are disconnected. And part of what we're doing, visiting other planets and expanding, is exploring the emotional side of ourselves. So since I've learned that and been doing this work, that side has really expanded hugely. So that's been really interesting. Then there are people from the Andromeda galaxy. So there's multiple planets out there, and they're just lumped under the Andromeda galaxy. That's actually an angelic realm. So those people are angels on Earth, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about that, right? Not just our guides, but actual physically incarnated people who come from an angelic realm. And those people struggle a little bit because, you know, the atmosphere here is different. The gravity here is different. The attitude here is certainly different. So for most souls who are visiting from another planet, there's some kind of a big adjustment that they have to make, whether it's the gravity, like for the Andromedans, or whether it's the lack of forward thinking, like the kids that come in that you call the indigos, the star children. They came from a planet that was way more advanced, way more in touch, more technologically advanced. And they're bringing those sensibilities. So when those children come here and they try to integrate with Earth, they really struggle because the rules in this society just don't make any sense to them. They really connect with the internet, that whole concept of social media, because they're all about people connecting, expanding. But a lot of the other stuff, the repression that's going on, is really hard for them. So that's part of their challenge. And there are more. I'm just not thinking of them at the moment. But if you throw one up there, I'll tell you what I know. Yeah, Arcturians, thanks, Starfish. That's another one. The Arcturians are more advanced intellectually. They're the brains. You know, they would be the eggheads. So the ones that I have met here, because I've had a few people who are Arcturians come for readings, and that was fascinating because you can tell when you look in their records, you can feel their energy. At least the ones I've met, they're way more advanced spiritually. They have this peace and serenity, this understanding and wisdom that goes above and beyond what the average person has that comes for a reading. So that's really fascinating. I'm just bopping back here in the comments to catch up, Starfish. It sounds like a wonderful meditation. It really is. Highly recommend it. I think you'll love it. It's just meeting your self-actualized soul. It's just phenomenal. It will change your whole perception about yourself. And it's less than 20 minutes. Phenomenal. So T-Bar, you're going to try. Awesome. So glad. Let me know how that goes. Colleen says, Starfish, someone told me it was Enoch. Oh, I don't know what that's an answer to. So, oh, I see it's up higher. You were trying to explain to a group who Metatron is. You can't remember the human name before he ascended. Actually, I'll tell you what I know about that, because that story's out there, but that contradicts the story that Metatron told me. So think of it this way. If Metatron started as this human being named Enoch and had this life, then ascended to become an angel, how does that work? Because remember, Metatron is the right hand of God. Metatron is in charge of the Akashic records, which all exist before us. When your soul is created, you get an Akashic record. So that would mean Metatron hadn't been on the job for a long time, and all of a sudden things shifted. So in the understanding I have, Metatron came first. The Akashic records came first. Then came the people. So Enoch could have been one of the physical incarnations of Metatron, but when I ask about that, I get a no. What I do get, and there is a video on my channel about this, who is Metatron? So you might look for that. It's just a short, less than a minute. But what Metatron has explained to me is that periodically throughout time, he will incarnate in the human form to expand his understanding of us, because Creator put him in charge of supervising our records and overlooking humanity. You know, he's like our major guardian angel for all of us. So he incarnated as Buddha. He incarnated as Muhammad. He was Yogananda. He was Jesus. And in between all of that, there have been incarnations as women, men, just regular people that wouldn't have stood out in history. because that was part of the expansion for him to understand us at a deeper level so that he can help us more. So, that's what I've been taught from Metatron about who he is. And again, I want to stress to you guys, when I share this with you, it's from my perspective. I could be wrong. So if you have a different belief, that's perfectly fine. I always encourage you to question, though. Question everything. That comes from Metatron too. Question everything, because we're at a time where so much of what we have learned is just not true anymore, or maybe it never was. And if it's not right for you, if it takes you out of alignment with your soul, certainly not right for you. So questioning everything, deciding what's best for your soul is always a wise choice. So Starfish, let me know if that was helpful. Harry's mom, that's what happened to you. Oh, I'm back at, sorry, I'm repeating myself. You did the bone broth fast. Let me get back down to where we were. Oh, I just love this, how these comments jump around. I don't know why YouTube does that. Warrior Girl says, we're all made of and we come from light. Yeah. And T-Barb, it sounds like you've activated yours. It's beautiful. Yeah, one time in one of the meditations I got from Creator, we are stardust and moonbeams. That's what we were made from. We're magical beings. So every day of our journey, if we look to connect with our angels and guides, we recognize the synchronicities, the God winks, all of those things that are coming to us from them, then act upon them. Then life becomes this magical journey where it's like you're hopping on lily pads from one to the next, looking for the next message, the next breadcrumb, so that you can act upon it. And then more doors open and life gets more magical. So that's what we were intended to do. But we got all bogged down somewhere back in time with ego, trying to keep us safe and hold us back. So since then, it's been this journey of trying to find that balance, because ego serves a purpose. We don't want to get rid of it. We want to make friends with it. We want to be cooperative with one another for the greater good of all of us. T-Barb says, Warrior Girl, it's new. The stuff sticking out of you farther. It feels good, but you just didn't know what it was about. Yeah, I can imagine that would be a little disturbing if you saw that and you didn't understand. But the cool thing is, as I think it was Warrior Girl mentioned, it's about your expansion. It's moving up to a higher frequency as you're preparing for fourth dimensional beingness, as we all are. So it's almost like, isn't that a God wink for you to show you about your progress? And that could be the reason you saw it. Could be very deliberate that they wanted you to see it. So now what else are they going to show you, which is really fun? Warrior Girl, you didn't hear of that one. Cool. Okay. Starfish says you believe the Arcturians are helping humankind. Yeah, they are, because they bring this depth of wisdom and understanding, probably technological too, although I haven't delved too much into them, but they're just brains and very, very tuned in spiritually. So they're trying to help all of us tune in spiritually as well, because at the end of the day, the spiritual side is the most important one, over and above technology or anything else. So Warrior Girl, oh, I got that one already. Oh, Andromeda, let me spell it out for you. Just like in the Roddenberry series, Andromeda, that had Kevin Sorbo in it. Starfish, you can remember your past lives, 3 past lives and the most recent ones. That's cool. Yeah. And the truth is we all can, if we get out of our way and let it come through. I have been for quite a number of years getting snippets of past lives. So my guides will just download a memory for me when there's something from that past life that is important for me to use now in the present. So I wrote about that in my first book, and I talk about it now and then. You might have heard it on other videos when it comes up. But yeah, they will do that. They'll bring those memories back, because the only reason we care about those past lives is to get the lessons to help us resolve issues today in the present so that we can move forward. It's fun, maybe entertaining to delve into those past lives and get the details. But from the Akashic Records perspective, our purpose is to use it for healing and expansion rather than entertainment, if that makes sense. Starfish, you're surprised that not all people know about Metatron. I know, me too, right? There's so much of it out there, but you got to realize there's a lot of people out there who are wearing blinders. They're in their own little world. They're not tuned in spiritually. They're just going through their day, surviving, not really thriving, not really living as souls. And, I was there one time too. It's not the best way to live. And wow, the contrast now, who would ever want to go back to that? But yet I still see lots of people who are. I mean, like I grew up in this little tiny town. There were only 66 kids in my graduating class. So a number of them I'm connected to on Facebook. And when I read their posts and I see what their lives are like, they stayed in that little town. They never went anywhere. Their world is like very compact. They're happy. It's okay for them. When they're ready, they'll get into expansion, but that's the choice they're making. We're making a different choice, and fabulous for that, because I'm so glad to have all of you here on this journey with me. Because, oh my gosh, we got to get this thing moving and expand into Earthtopia so that it can be better for all of us. And then those people who are choosing to stay and not exit will be able to join with us in that new awakened time as we venture into whatever fourth dimensional being this is going to be, because who knows? I don't know what that's going to feel like. We haven't got there yet. So Earth will shift into fourth dimension. We will shift into fourth dimension, and then whole new game. It's really exciting. Warrior Girl says, I thought Metatron and Sandalphon were twins and human. That's why their names do not end in EL, which means of God. That I don't know about. I haven't heard that particular story. They could be twin angels, but if that's true, Metatron has never mentioned it. So from my perspective, until I get it from Metatron, it's just another story that's out there. And I don't know. It could be Sandalphon, being a brother angel or sister angel, whatever. And that's the connection. Yeah. So that I can't tell you more about. But you know what? Yes, I can. Let's just ask. I'm forgetting. Instead of channeling it for you, I'm just babbling here. So remind me once in a while to go ask Metatron. So Metatron, what can you tell us about Sandalphon? Is Sandalphon your twin? I get a no on that. Okay. So what can you tell us about Sandalphon? Who is that? Besides being an angel, of course. I'm hearing the word helpmate. So yeah, Sandalphon is one of the inner circle for Metatron that help him with his work, because there are hierarchies within the angelic realm. So, Metatron is at the top, at the right hand of God. And then the angels that are in our individual Akashic records, those are at higher or lower levels rather. And in between, there's the archangels that are there with Metatron, but I don't know if they're lower, they're pretty close to the same. There might be something slightly different there because he still oversees everything. And then more in between. So anything else you want to tell us about the angel hierarchy or Sandalphon for the people here tonight? He says, we would do well not to worry so much about that and focus more on our lives and our expansion, but it's okay to ask the questions and they will always do their best to answer us. So is there anything else you want to share about that? He says, that's enough for now, unless you have a specific question. So if you do, just pop it in there. Susan says, somebody in our group posted that she was feeling drained by meditation. Can the angel high frequency be draining because it's so much higher than ours? Huh, that's interesting. I have not personally had that experience. So, this is what I just got, Susan. You can't be drained by connecting with your angels. However, if you are out of alignment with your soul, then you're not getting the vital force energy that they're pouring into you. It's spilling out. Sometime back, they gave me this visual. Picture yourself as an urn. So here you are, this urn, with the top that's kind of flared out. So when the divine energy comes down, that vital force healing energy into your crown chakra, flowing through your entire body, if you're like this, it's going to flow through you, right? But sometimes you as the human get so out of alignment with your soul that you're like all cockeyed. And so it's coming down, but it's spilling all over you, and very little, if any, is coming in to revitalize you. So probably if that person is experiencing being drained, that's what's going on. And you might have them just, tag me in a post so we can talk about that. And who knows, maybe I'll even get some kind of a download that can help them with that more. But that would not be normal. So the other question that's just popping in for me is, are they connected with their Akashic records when they're meditating? It's possible they're not. Maybe they're skipping that part, and then they might be connected with something that does drain them. So that would be the other possibility. So let me know if that answers your question. Warrior girl, you've told your son for years about, oh, where did it go? Shoot. Hang on. You told him about synchronicities being a gift from the universe and how the universe never conspires. Yeah, that's true. The universe is not going to do something negative to you to drag you down or to hurt you. It's always about helping, uplifting, helping in any way they can without crossing that line into violating your free choice. That they can't do. They can tap you on the shoulder. They can show you all kinds of stuff. They can toss tons of breadcrumbs. But ultimately, the choice is always up to you what you do about that. You've got to recognize the message, take action upon the message. Meanwhile, they're just doing their darndest to get your attention and help you in any way that they can. And the cool thing about that, you can tell your son, is that the more you notice those breadcrumbs, those synchronicities, those downloads, the more you notice and then take action, the more will happen. And the more wonderful they will get, because it keeps expanding. You are just opening the doors wide and saying, hey, come on in, let's party together. And they'll be right there with you. Starfish says, when I went to a particular city, the emotional reaction was joy, and you knew you'd been there and you were very happy and had 2 lives in that city. The 3rd lifetime you remembered in a dream. Oh, that's beautiful. So wonderful. So probably, Starfish, if you wanted to, you could go into a meditation and you could ask them to show you more about that if you needed more details, because they will do that. Yeah, I had a lady in one of my classes who visited a city and was in another country. When she visited, she instantly felt at home, knew her way around, and knew that there was a past life there. So that's really a cool thing. I haven't had that experience yet, but I haven't traveled very much either. T-Barb says, you had a dream. Your angels and guides said they want us to remember how powerful we are. Miracles are easy and that we never run out. Yeah, I get that same message. And it's coming to a lot of people, because right now, so many of us need to hear that. We need that to be uplifted and encouraged so that we will step forward into our power to start using our gifts. That's one of the reasons, you guys, I get so excited and talk so much about these soul introduction meetings, because it's like, you come in, we look at your records, we see how your soul schematic is put together. And based upon that, these are the characteristics that are natural to you. And so often people knew that they were there. They kind of had an inkling about it, but they didn't know how to put the pieces together to use it in the most powerful way. So it's like taking the blinders off and seeing that magnificent soul self that just glows with love, light, and energy. Then when you get that, oh my gosh, it's like taken off into the stratosphere, purposefully using what you know about yourself to create a more magnificent life, to expand your spiritual growth. It's just phenomenal. And that's a beautiful gift that we have. I don't know how long it's been going on, but it's not that long. And it's really expanded since, the 2010, 2012 kind of time frame, when so many people started waking up and seeking out this information. And that's where the information about the soul groups comes from as well, all those planets. Starfish, you've met 3 people that when you met them, you knew that you had met them before. Yeah. I hear that from people occasionally, not too often, because not that many people are tuned in enough to feel it. And that's really beautiful validation for you that you are more tuned in spiritually, so that you're allowing your entire body, all of your senses, to feel that information that your guides are sending to you. That's something that when I first started, I didn't get the whole body package of sensations. I mostly would get the visuals, and then I would get the claircognizance. So I would feel something in my body, but it wasn't a full body thing. Now, after doing more of it and for a longer period of time, I get the whole enchilada. I mean, I can smell things, I can taste things. Sometimes I'll get choked up because there's something going on for the person I'm channeling for. And just all these sensations in the body, in addition to the claircognizance and the visions and the auditory, it's all there. So the more you do it, the more you open doors and ask for more, the more you will get. So for all of us, that is possible. That's why I tell the people when they come and they join the meditation group, if you're not seeing it or you're not hearing it, you're not feeling it, but you're getting something, it's okay. It's perfect. Work with what you've got and know that the more steadfast you are, the more committed you are, and you put in the time and the practice, the more those gifts will expand, so that you will be able to get more input in the future. It will just keep expanding. And it's like anything else. When you go work out at the gym, you got to tone your muscles. So the more you practice this and put in that intention, the better you will get at it over a period of time. Doesn't usually happen with a snap of the fingers, although sometimes it can. Something will just click open because you were ready. But you've probably done a lot of preparatory work up to that point that maybe you weren't even conscious of. Because often we're doing a lot of things unconsciously. And then once we understand it, it's like, wow, I've been doing this all along and I had no idea. Like, reading people's energy. I was doing that all my life and I didn't know. I just thought everybody knew things about people. And it always astonished me when I would know something and they wouldn't, but it never clicked for me because I was doing something different than they were. So that was something I learned when I had my own soul introduction about how my particular gift is set up for me to read energy, which was, phenomenal and still expanding, by the way, because we never get it done. That's the really amazing thing about this too. You get that information, you learn about how you're wired, and then after that, it's just leaning into it and getting it at deeper and deeper levels. You never get finished. You're always expanding. It's just so delicious and exciting. Warrior Girl's asking, is it like deja vu? It is for me. So I don't know if she's answered you yet in the chat, but yeah, you'll just feel things and they'll be familiar. And then when you kind of spend a little time trying to figure out why it feels familiar and you ask for a little bit of help, start putting those pieces together and you'll get more of it. In fact, Metatron says deja vu is a past life memory. That's why it's coming up. So when you get deja vu, make a note of whatever it was you received. Save it, because in the future, you will probably get some breadcrumbs that will help you connect the dots where that fits in to what the other things are that you know about yourself. T-Barb, you feel a connection to ancient Egypt and Pompeii, but you don't really know if you had a life there. Well, let's just ask. I'm breaking my rule. I can break my rules, right? So it's personal, but it's also metaphysical, so we'll do it. So T-Barb, does T-Barb have past lives, a life or lives in Egypt, Pompeii? Oh yeah. So more than one life? Yeah. I feel a cluster energetically, and it's sparkling too. So you probably had some lives that were very consequential, like, you were maybe someone of stature there, because it has that weight to it, T-Barb, that it feels just, it's not like a normal, regular, everyday person. It was some stature that goes with it. Warrior Girl, you feel that too. And you found out that you have. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if many of us have, because it was a consequential time in history. So if you were incarnating on Earth during that time, then, you might have been there. Oh, you're welcome. The question about the twins. Yeah, I hope that helped. And Warrior Girl says you were in Atlantis twice. That's cool. Yeah, I've met a few people who remember being in Atlantis and some of the scientific and technological advancements that they had there. It's kind of mind-blowing. And just know that for all of you, as I think I said this earlier, but in case you weren't here, the more you lean in and focus on your spiritual growth, getting those messages from your guides, taking action, the more of that information you will get. You will get it when it connects to something else, when it's important, when it's to help you have a deeper understanding. So those pieces come in like puzzle pieces. And here you are assembling your soul puzzle to understand more about yourself. And again, you never get that done because you're eternal. You're going to keep going forever. So we have 19 people here, you guys, and 12 thumbs up. So if you can give me a thumbs up, that would be really great. It always helps. Starfish, you recognize their energy at soul level. One person, every time he walked past, you felt the energy come into your solar plexus. Each time you feel it in your heart and solar plexus. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel it a lot in my solar plexus as well and heart. You know, if you've been on the third Saturday when we do the personal questions and I'm channeling for people, very often I'll just get, whoa, man, I felt that. Or in the solar plexus. So for whatever reason, those two chakras are picking up more of that kind of information and feedback. Harry's mom said, I always feel high after meditating and healed after the meditation. Oh, that's so beautiful. I'm so glad. That means that you are aligned, Harry's mom. You are allowing it to do what it's there to do for you, and it will just keep expanding. Yeah. And I've had a number of these downloaded meditations where it was Creator, it was Metatron, sometimes it was Jesus. You know, somebody substantial came and held me in their arms and I could feel the healing energy. Sometimes it's crackling, so it's like your whole body wants to dance around like you're, you know, a puppet on a string. Other times it's very soothing. Sometimes it feels like milk being poured over your body. So you're going to get a variety of sensations. So I encourage you when you go into these just to be open, to let them lead you and show you whatever it is that you need at that time, because it will always be perfect. I don't know why Metatron decided to do this meditation recently with the metamorphosis out of the cocoon, but it feels timely. It feels like it matches. Oh yeah, I do know why. Never mind. I forgot for a moment. When I went back into it and, you know, really examined it to put the pieces together, what I got was, this is important because of the pandemic, what we're going through, and how so many people are feeling depressed, at loose ends, some very hopeless. This is to help them put the pieces back together, to know that it's not hopeless. It is purposeful. We are moving towards something to lift them up out of the doldrums, to heal them so that they can keep going and not decide to exit early. Callista, you were at a horse barn and you heard your guides and then you saw the chat had started. How cool. So I guess you were supposed to be here. I'm so glad you heard and came. Starfish wants to know, how did I first begin channeling Metatron? Oh gosh. When I was about 4 years old, I was having conversations with Jesus. So at that age, I was still connected. I hadn't forgotten. And some of that stuck with me, but mostly it got forgotten for many, many decades. When I started connecting with the Akashic records and having these journeys, these meditation journeys in the fifth dimension, I would get like these movies and I would go in and I would meet individuals and connect with them and get stories and pieces. In the beginning, I would get like Old Testament prophets. So Isaiah was one of the first who came to me. Then at some point, I guess when my confidence had grown enough, then Jesus showed up in my meditation. So part of that, so that you all know, is our self-esteem, because we think, who am I to have this, you know, high being come and interact with me? For crying out loud, Creator themselves is going to come to me and hold me in their arms. Yes, you, because you are that important. And once you get over yourself and you allow that, then you get more of it. So after I had Jesus come a few times, then at some point it shifted to Metatron. And that's when I first got the message that they were the same soul. Because I could tell the energy was so familiar and it was very confusing. So, I had a whole conversation with them about that, explain this to me. And then that's where I got more of this information. And then, sometimes I'll go in and it'll just be average angels and guides who are showing up to help, because we don't always need somebody at the higher levels to help us. It doesn't matter. We're getting the help. That's the important thing. But then Metatron started becoming a regular thing. And I just felt really comfortable with that energy, probably because of the Jesus connection. So very often I'll go in, I'll ask for Metatron. And of course, if you ask, they're going to come. And it just kind of expanded from there. And so we've got like this best friend partnership thing going on now. So, as long as Metatron is willing to come and help, then I'm there to get the information and share it with you. But that doesn't preclude having experiences with others. So that's part of the fun, being open to whatever comes. Sometimes you might go in and they're just like regular people that you're interacting with, or maybe they're creatures. Sometimes I get a green dragon, being very silly. Often it's, one of your angels wearing that disguise because they did it to make a point, to teach you a lesson, to connect dots for whatever reason. They will take whatever tools they can to make sure that you get the message, because it's all about you. It's helping you make the connection. It's helping you expand, because that's what we all need right now. We need to accelerate our spiritual growth. Let me know if that makes sense. So Warrior Girl, your son channels somebody from Vega, and you were told he's from there. Yeah, that is one of the soul groups. So the people from Vega are very outgoing. They're the ones who will be on the stage. They're the ones who, as children, will entertain the adults at the party. They're these bright lights, and they love being in the spotlight. So that's just a snippet about the people from Vega. They're lovely, upbeat, delightful people usually, if they're in alignment with their soul. Harry's mom says it's better than a nap. Yeah, it's so revitalizing. That's what's amazing. And I think that's probably why I so often will go in and I don't know what I'm going to get. I'm just thinking they're going to give me some kind of a message, and it will be this phenomenal meditation. It's because we need more of that. And yeah, if you go and listen to that whole playlist of meditations I have, you're going to find repetition among them. I don't think any of them are exactly alike. There's always differences, but there's common threads. It's because that's what we need. And if we don't hear it on this one, we'll hear it on that one. So they're just going to keep sharing it with us. This banquet, this abundance of connecting meditations to help us. So yeah, and most of them are very energizing, if not healing. I had one guy told me that whenever he did my well-being meditation, which is one I channeled years ago, it's one of the first, it puts him to sleep. And it's like, okay, so you needed the sleep. That's really wonderful. Be in gratitude that the meditation helped you sleep. And then when you catch up and when you're ready, you'll stay awake and you'll get more of the meditation. But even if you fall asleep, you're still getting it at a subliminal level. So there's no waste there. So just be kind to yourself, have the experience, and allow it to expand in you in whatever way you need at that point in time. And it could be different from experience to experience. What does Metatron say about the Celestine Prophecy? I'll ask, but before that, I'll tell you what I can tell you about the Celestine Prophecy, because I read it. When I started working with the records, it clicked for me that, oh my gosh, what is that guy's name? James Redfield or Redfern or something. He was channeling that book, those books. There's that part in the last book where it talks about how people start vibrating at a higher frequency and they disappear. That's exactly what's going to happen. We won't probably perceive it that way, but there's all these old stories about oh my gosh, the word just went right out of my mind. The rapture, when the souls just, float up into the air and go away. I think it's similar to that, except the people who are not expanding into the fourth dimensional energy will just stay. They'll stay right where they are. They'll keep on going on. The ones who are ascending into the fourth dimensional, we will just start buzzing at that higher frequency, and it'll be like we're in another reality or another dimension. So when you think about the Mayans, that's probably what happened to them. They just ascended. They got to that higher energy frequency where they couldn't be seen. Like with dogs, they can hear frequencies that we can't. So it would be similar to that. So people at the lower frequencies wouldn't be able to see those at the higher, if that makes sense. So let's just see what Metatron has to say about that. So Metatron, what can you share with us about the Celestine Prophecy? He says, read it. Highly recommended. Okay, thank you. That was fun. So what else do you have to say about it? Yeah, he says it would be a beneficial read because it will open your eyes to some of the possibilities that you might not have thought of yet. It's a fun escape kind of adventure. So, highly recommended reading material since you're on this spiritual ascension journey. What else? Oh, he says, if you decide to read it, while you're reading, feel it. Allow yourself to have a sensory experience of it, and it will be so much deeper and you'll get so much more out of it. But of course, there's way more out there than just that. So that's not the only path. But if you are feeling drawn to that story, then yeah, go read that. But you don't have to. It's just, it's a suggestion. What else? Anything else? He says, no, it's like, it's not really all that important, but since you're asking about it, that is the perspective that you probably were looking to hear. So that's the higher perspective for Metatron. Let me know if that helps. Astral travel while we sleep. So you probably missed that, Starfish. We talked about that a little bit earlier. So we all astral travel when we sleep. Sometimes we do more than in other times. Probably depends on how tired we are. But what's happening is our soul doesn't need to sleep. So while the body is sleeping, the soul slips out and goes to the astrals. Now it's either connecting with other souls from past lives, or it's maybe doing things like going to soul school or attending to, other business, because the soul is constantly working on many, many other levels. So even though we know our soul is here in our body, it's not the entire soul. Part of it's also in other places. So when you astral travel, it's all coming together in completeness again. Then when it's time for you to wake up again, you're coming back into your body. That portion of your soul is coming back into your body. Let me know if that makes sense, or if you want to delve a little deeper on that. Warrior Girl says, you hear their voices with your physical ears? You used to, but you thought you were crazy and you shut it down and it hasn't come back. Rarely do I actually hear an audible, but once in a great while, and I hear it inside my head. We talked about this a while back because I was having trouble explaining it to people, and it was like, I hear it. It feels like I hear it, but I don't hear it outside of myself. I hear it inside my head. And then sometimes it'll be like they've written it on the cells of my brain or something. It's like somebody is writing and you can feel the letters being formed and you know what it says, if that makes any sense at all. So it comes in so many different ways. And part of what we're doing is just tuning in to figure out what is and what isn't, to connect with it and get the message. And know that if you don't get it all, you can ask for clarification. You can ask for more. You can ask another time. You're not limited by that. Sometimes I'll do a meditation and I'll get this really deep stuff that I don't totally understand. Like one time Jesus came and he told me time is fungible. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And why do I need to know that? Later on, I got it. Didn't come right away. It took a while. In the meantime, I had gotten another message from trees who explained to me this whole thing about energy frequency, and that connected with what Jesus had said about time being fungible. And then I understood that in the fifth dimension, time is very different than what it is here. So their experience of time is that it's fungible, it's changeable, it's not linear, it's not concrete, and it's set like we're experiencing it here. So they were wanting us to understand that our perception of time is not true. And therefore, that whole thing that we get caught up in about time being limited and never having enough time is an illusion. It's not true. We have all the time we need. And if we slow down and tune in, time will expand for us. We have that ability. So I think I went off on a whole tangent there. Let me know if I missed what you really wanted me to talk about. Oh, but the audible. Yeah, I think that we all could probably get there, but that's a little harder for us. So now, of course, that's my truth. That might not be the same for you. You had it before, you can have it again. Just let them know you're ready to open that channel back up again, or turn the faucet back on so that it flows to you again. Of course, if you want it to, as long as it's not distracting or causing an issue for you. That's like the whole thing where people will frequently share with me that they get woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning with angel messages. And so they're sleepy because they're not getting full night's rest. And so from my perspective, because I come from this different place on this, it's like, are you happy about getting woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning? Because I would not be. I'm real fussy if I don't get my sleep. No, not really. And I said, so why don't you ask them to come at a time that's more convenient for you? Make an appointment. Ask them to come at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever you want. Or, 10 o'clock at night, whatever feels good to you. Ask them. They will accommodate you because they're not trying to do something that's going to cause you harm, like being sleep deprived. They're only coming through when they can. So if you're not open and accepting and allowing them to come through at other times, they come through when you're asleep because that's when they can reach you. So as soon as you start paying attention and having those dialogues with them, they don't have to wake you up anymore. They can come at a time that is convenient for you. So anything you're getting from them, interaction, if it doesn't work for you for some reason, if it's uncomfortable, tell them. Ask them to do it in a way that is better suited for you, because they're just looking for that crack of least resistance to get through to you. Once they get through and you've made the connection, then you can call the shots about how you want to do it. So much better that way. Isn't it funny, warrior girl, how we get this stuff that our heart desires, and then we think we're crazy and we poo-poo it and put it away? But, we just weren't ready yet. It'll come at some point. So that's part of what we're going through now as well, understanding. And that's another reason that book from Metatron was so important, because let's spell out what the experience can be like so others can hear about it and reconsider their thoughts on the matter. Then they can realize, wow, I'm doing it better than I thought I was doing it, or I'm not doing it wrong. I can keep moving forward. It's all about encouraging, uplifting, helping us to lean in to our gifts and to connecting with our guides and angels. Callista asked, does Metatron have any comments about the Oh, we did that one already. Okay, the Celestine Prophecy. And now it bounced on me. Hang on. Come back. Come back. Oh, wow, it bounced big that time. Starfish says T-Barb is a healer. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, we need more healers right now, T-Barb. Take care of yourself, though. You probably know that, but just in case, self-care is so huge. You really have to take care of you and make sure that you're filled to overflowing so that you don't get depleted, because then you can't help as many people. So taking care of yourself is the most selfless thing you can do. It's not selfish. That's a lie that we've been told from generations. It's just not true. Starfish, you were told you were in Atlantis twice. Yeah, Atlantis, as far as I understand, went on for quite some time. So yeah, it's quite possible. And yeah, I know somebody else who has been there more than once as well, and also was in Lemuria. So, that's a whole other story there. Linda, you just got home. Hi. So glad you could join us. Delighted to have you here. Warrior Girl, science released a study in 2019 that our hearts hold more memory than our brains. That is really cool. Yeah, I can see how that would be. And you know, the interesting thing is that some of these experiences and meditations, I feel my heart chakra expanding. So I think part of what we are moving into with this fourth dimensional beingness is expansion of those chakras, because we need them to function at a higher level as we move into the fourth dimension. So gosh, that's an exciting thing to think about too. And your crown chakra, oh my gosh, when you feel that expanding, I don't know what that might feel like, but it's probably going to be quite the head trip. So we have all that to look forward to. Warrior Girl, you said for years that we couldn't exist on earth without our body, which is like a computer box. The soul in the heart chakra is the motherboard, the spirit, which is the divine spark of God. Yeah, that's a cool way of describing it. Yeah. I often call it the skin suit because, you know, like in the movie Cocoon, where the aliens were wearing the skin suits to look like humans. But when they took them off, they were these glowing light beings. And I think our souls look a lot like that. So the person who wrote Cocoon probably channeled that part of it because it feels so true and also matches some of what I've seen on my journeys in the fifth dimension. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what we're going to look like when we get through with this expansion, but it's okay. Whatever it is, it will be perfect for us. Oh, and it's like the Ethernet cord that connects us to source. Yeah. Yeah. Stephen King wrote this book. Oh gosh, Insomnia. If you ever read that book, he describes this guy who's psychic and can see, I don't know if he sees auras, but he sees like this umbilical cord from people going up, and there's like this balloon thing attached to it. That's a connection to divine. That's what he's seeing. And I think Stephen King probably channeled that part of it because, in fact, we do have like an umbilical cord to divine. It's a God spark. It's called the God spark. And the one that we have that we can see through the records is actually attached at the heart chakra. So we all have this God spark. It's like an umbilical cord from the heart chakra to divine, and we're getting fed through that. The thing that happens though is through our lifetimes, the God spark gets damaged, which can, you know, put kinks in it and not allow the divine energy to flow freely. So one of the things we do when we do the clearing ritual after the karma reading is to heal the God spark, to restore it to original conditions so that all of that divine energy can come through. But even when it's damaged, we're still getting stuff. And then, this is cool, I'll just throw that in as a bonus, we can have a secondary God spark. Now, I don't find them very often. They seem to be pretty rare, or maybe those people just aren't coming to me for readings. But you can get a secondary God spark, which would come in at either the fifth, sixth, or seventh chakra. And it will happen when there's like some kind of a special assignment that you're doing, and you need that secondary commitment or connection rather to get more energy, vital force energy from source to be able to fulfill whatever that is. Sometimes I will see that there's a candidacy for a second God spark. So you're on track for it. You're probably going to get it within this time frame at this chakra. We can look all that up in the records, which is really, really cool when you think about it. But for most of us, we don't have those secondaries or candidacies because the things that we're doing, we don't need them. Doesn't mean we might not get them in the future, though. So that will be really interesting to watch and see how that expands. So that's probably more than you were expecting, but that's what I have to share with you about the umbilical cord. And yeah, it is like an Ethernet cord because if you think about it, the Akashic records are like the internet, right? We're all connected. That energy is all connected. So I see it as God, creator, source is like the hub in the center. And then we are all spokes of that hub. We are all those energy connections. And we're not only connected to divine, but all to one another, if that makes sense. Just like an Ethernet or an internet. So probably the internet was also inspired by somebody who channeled that information, because I find it hard to believe it could be that spot on unless it was channeled information, which of course brings up the point, you guys, we were talking about this earlier. Everybody has the ability to channel. They just haven't all understood it yet. So we're all getting stuff all the time. We may not know that it came from divine or angels, but we're getting it. So when we flip that switch, we get that that's where it's coming from. Then we open the doors to more. That's what we're working on in the 21-day meditation challenge, is accelerating that process. So Metatron put the pieces together. He laid out the stepping stones for us to get there faster. That's why I keep talking about it incessantly, because it's so important to our journey right now. So if you haven't already joined us, oh, please come and join us. It's from my book, The Path to Healing, Angels and Guides. I don't know if I have a link on that handy here. I might have. You can find it on Amazon, but in that book is a link for you to join us in the Facebook group. And we just went through another round of the 21 days as a group. And what was really phenomenal is that people who had been with me for the first round were finding that they were going deeper, more layers of the onion being peeled, more things coming forth, people spontaneously starting to channel who hadn't before. So it's just phenomenal. We will be doing another group round at some point later on, but you can pop into the group and start anytime you like. All of the information from the previous rounds and from the ongoing shares are there to help you. So we're there to support you on that journey, to help you accelerate your spiritual growth. It's just, I can't emphasize how important that really is. So let me see, do I have that link here? I don't see it right now, you guys, and I don't want to hold you up. So what I'll do is later I'll go back and I'll put it in the comments. So if you haven't already discovered it on Amazon, you can use that link to get to it. So back to your comments. Starfish, you love Metatron. You feel very comfortable with his energy. Yeah, me too. I feel like we're besties. We're walking hand in hand through life. But that wasn't until I'd spent some significant time connecting and allowing the connection to expand. So I'm so happy for you, because you couldn't have a better bestie than Metatron to take this journey with. And for everybody, if you feel hesitant about calling on Metatron or Jesus or, Muhammad, whoever it is that you see as a spiritual enlightened being or teacher, whoever feels special to you, archangels, you can call on any one of them. They love you to the moon and back, and they would be delighted to help you. Call on all of them, take turns and see who you feel most comfortable with. You can even get groups of them. In the early days when I was starting, I used to get 3 or 4 archangels that would show up and help me. And that was a lot of fun. So, they would come, they would deliver a message. And then later on, the archangels kind of faded away, and it was more Metatron and Jesus sometimes. Or just totally unrelated, and beings would come and put on this show. Yeah. So I had those lipstick smears again, huh? That really sucks. You got any tips on keeping that from happening? I'd love to hear that. I start talking so much and it seems to spread out. And then I look at the video later and it's like, oh my gosh, can't believe I had that the whole time. T-Barb, you didn't talk to Jesus much as a child, but you had regular conversations with what you called God. That's why church never resonated, all that dogma, and you continued doing that into your adult life. Oh, I love that. Bless you that you were able to get past that. Because I grew up in that, that Judeo-Christian paradigm where all the rules that kept you suppressed and didn't allow you to have the possibility. And, of course, all that crap about how we're unworthy sinners. And, oh my gosh, what is that saying? That's saying that God made all this junk, right? That we're not worthy, which makes absolutely no sense. And in the eyes of Creator, we are perfect, brilliant, magnificent, and resplendent. They keep saying that. So I keep sharing it with you because I guess we need to keep hearing it until we get it, right? So when we all get that, it's like, it's all there for you, for you, for you, for you, because you're that loved, that precious. It's all available. All you have to do is reach out, take it, and ask for more. It's not being greedy. Ask for more if you need more. You can't ask for too much. Now, Warrior Girl, you said they started doing heart transplants, so now you don't know. I'm missing the connection to what that's about. So If that's important, you can, put that below and we'll get to it. Mayans disappearing, that resonates for you. Kay says the Celestine Prophecy, read it 3 times. Yeah. It's a phenomenal book. And, people like James and other authors who are getting bits and pieces of this and they're able to put it out there for people to read. They're planting seeds. They're like the Johnny Appleseeds of the present generation. They're putting that information there for us to find it, to connect with it, to start putting the pieces together. Our souls will resonate with it if we're ready. Years ago, I read this book, Hind's Feet on High Places, which is a little bit like Pilgrim's Progress. It's a spiritual book, but it's done in a fictional way with this main character who's called Much Afraid, going on her soul journey. And I forget the names of her companions, but they're also, struggling with whatever it is. I so resonated with Much Afraid because that was me for so many years of my life, practically afraid of my own shadow. And now I can see all the parallels. That's about the light workers who have been tortured, killed, maimed, exiled, what have you, through so many lifetimes, that now they're here, they're being asked to step up and they're saying, can't, I'm scared. I surrender, can't do it. And that's what came through in that meditation that I posted on Sunday. Those were the words the light workers were saying. I can't do it, I'm too afraid. And that meditation came to lift them up, to heal them, to release the fear so that they can step forward. So in that book, the journey of Much Afraid was she was traveling to the mountaintop, connecting spiritually. That book so deeply resonated with me that I bought a whole bunch of copies and shared it with everybody I knew. And now I can see why it was an important part of my journey. That was not an accident that I found that book. It's not like it was a huge best-selling book that was everywhere. It was a little paperback that I found like in an airport gift shop. So talk about the happenstance of that, right? Yeah, so there are lots out there. Janet Connor is one. If you haven't read her books are phenomenal. I just did her Lotus and Lily program at the end of the year. It's a phenomenal process to go through. She also has a 21-day process of going through, and it's all about raising your vibrational frequency, getting that deeper connection. So it's out there for us. We just have to find it and then put the time in to using it and allowing it to expand. Starfish, you've never read it? Yeah. Well, you might be past it where you don't need it, but it's a really good series. I think there might be, are there 10 books in that series, Warrior Girl? Do you remember? I know there were a lot because it took me a while to track them all down. But it's really good. Harry's mom, you're so glad to talk about the disappearing people because you've received messages about that. Yeah. I suspect more people are as well, Harry's mom, because part of what's happening with the virus is that these people are choosing to exit now. That's the other side of it. The ones who don't want to stay here to go through what we're going to have to go through, because it's not going to be all roses and sunshine. Some of it's going to be, difficult to get through to Earthtopia. So some of them just said, nope, I'm checking the box to opt out. I don't want to do that. So they're leaving with the virus. Then others, as I mentioned earlier, will just choose to stay, but not to accelerate to 4th dimension. So that probably is what Dolores Cannon was talking about when she talked about the 2 Earths. So there would be the 3rd dimensional Earth that those people would stay on, and then the 4th dimensional Earth that we would go to. And that doesn't mean that Earth is going to split in 2. There's going to be 2 of them, because that would wreck a lot of stuff in the cosmos. But probably what it means is like it's a parallel reality or a dimension so that they can exist without, interrupting each other. By the way, that's where things like the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot come from. And that's why people can't find them, because they exist in another dimension. There are portals. They periodically will cross over just because it's fun. They're exploring, and they probably get quite a laugh out of watching the people scratching their head, trying to figure out what's going on, but then they leave. So that's why science hasn't been able to document them. It's that whole portal traveling thing. Kay, you said there's a lot of hidden messages in the series. Yeah, there really are. And you know, I read that before I really had my spiritual awakening. So I didn't understand that at the time. It only clicked for me later when I started working in the records. So if I could find the time, it might be interesting to go back and read them again and get all the pieces that I missed, because yeah, he was definitely tapped in channeling. So Sabrina, you've owned a copy of it a few times, but haven't read it. Time to move it to the pile. Yeah, move it up in the pile. I think you'll really enjoy it. Takes a while to get through it because there's a lot of books, but it's worth the time because it's such an eye-opening experience. In some ways, it reminded me a little bit about the story of Shangri-La, you know, the people moving on into a different space, not in the space that we're all occupying right now. Starfish wants to know, what about parallel lives? That's an interesting one. I was taught in my Akashic Record curriculum that we each are living simultaneous parallel lives, because when our soul incarnates, we want to have the largest experience we can. I think it was 6. They said we're living 6 simultaneous lives. And so in each of them, we're making different choices. So we start at the same place, we end at the same place, but the journey is different. That allows us to collect a lot of data from all those lives. So far, I have not found anything that has persuaded me that that's true, other than it was taught to me. And I question everything. So until I get something that really expounds upon that, I'm not buying it, because I can't wrap my mind around it. I'm not ready for that. So I'm just choosing to let it go and not engage with it. But let's just ask the question. So what can you tell us about the parallel lives? Is it true that we are living 6 multiple lifetimes with each incarnation? Oh, this is interesting. I'm getting, it's a neither yes or no. There's a truth that's somewhere in between. Okay, so can you elaborate on that? What does that mean? Oh, how interesting. So some souls are and some souls aren't. I didn't expect that. That is really fascinating. So, okay, does that mean that with each lifetime, we choose whether or not we want to do? Yeah, okay, okay. So it's going to differ from person to person. So when you get ready to incarnate, you decide whether you want to do the 6-pack or if you want to do the single. It's up to you. And that will depend on where you're at in your spiritual growth. Wow, thanks for that question. That is really fascinating. More information for the knowledge bank. Callista, you read the first 3 books and you felt you weren't ready for the next. Yeah, that's wise. If you feel like it's too much, then you wait, and when you're ready, it'll be there for you. And Callista says, yeah, Metatron has a sense of humor. Oh, absolutely. He's so funny. A dry sense of humor is how it comes through to me usually. So I don't know how you get it, but because they're all different, you know, they will interact with us differently. Like Archangel Raphael comes to me as this wisecracker. I mean, like the snap and gum, you know, like the 50s rocker with the, I don't see him this way, but that's the energy, you know, like the greased back here, like a James Dean wisecracking guy. And he's really funny, but, you know, sarcastic, quite sarcastic. Okay. Angelita, insights or guidance on using the pendulum? The pendulum just takes practice. So I actually taught a course on this for Celtic Tarot Sheila's private group. So if you're in her private group, you can get that course. Or somewhere down the road, probably later this year, I'll be teaching that again, as well as learning to read the records to find out about your gifts. I do that portion of the class. So the pendulum, you can use anything that you can swing. This one is nice because this bottom is a little heavy. That weight, it just feels comfortable. You know, if this wasn't weighted, it would flop around more. So I like this one for that reason. But like I have this pendant here. You can use any old pendant that you can hold on to and swing. So it really doesn't matter what you use. Now, there are differing opinions on this. Some people will tell you that you've got to cleanse your pendulum. You've got to program your pendulum. I programmed my first one. I put it in salt, did all that stuff because I was told and I didn't know any better. But then subsequently, I never felt like I needed to do that again. I always felt like once the pendulum was set up and we had a dialogue going here, I never needed to ask if it was going to perform in the same way. I just expect it and it does. So if you program it, you would hold it up and you would say, show me what yes looks like. And for me, yes is like nodding your head, yes. So show me what no looks like. And that's like nodding your head, no. And, you know, I didn't know it was going to do that. That's just the way it came out. And then sometimes it will just spin in a circle. That is either a maybe or, you know, the answer isn't clear yet. It's could be either one. So once you know what the yes and no and the maybe are, then you start asking questions. This is where it gets tricky because the way you ask the questions has to be worded correctly in order to get the right answer. That's one part of it. The other part of it is trust. You are not moving. I'm holding my hand still. It's the energy coming down that's providing the answers. But you don't want to hold your arm rigid either. It needs to be flexible. So there will be times where I have been dowsing in a class and people are saying, you're moving your arm. And I'm not. I really am not moving my arm. The pendulum is moving my arm because it's going, you know, so rapidly that the energy is moving my arm. But you don't want to put it, well, this is true for me. It may not be true for you. You don't want to like put it down and rest it and make it rigid either, because again, the energy needs to flow down to put the answers in the pendulum. So if you have your arm propped up, you're going to be blocking that energy, right? In that kink. Now, these are things I've discovered are true. And a lot of it has just been through using it, practicing, finding out what worked. So back to the wording of the questions. You can ask about the future in the Akashic records, but the future is not set in stone. It can change depending on choices we make. So when people come on my third Saturday call and they ask all these personal questions about their future, what I will say is it highly likely that this person is going to have that experience, right? Or is it probable if I'm going for something? And if they're asking about making a choice, maybe they've got 2 or 3 things they're considering, they can't make a choice. So we'll go through the choices. Is first choice the optimal choice? And you just go through them until you find the one that's optimal. You're looking for optimal. So those are techniques that have worked for me to get correct answers. But here's one that you might be able to relate to. During the election, you know, a lot of you are from the political tarot group, so you will understand what I'm saying. I was dowsing like mad because I wanted to find out, are McConnell and Graham going to get reelected? And of course, I didn't want them to get reelected, but I was trying to be really objective and not influenced, because if you're asking a question that's highly emotional for you or that you're tied to the results, probably going to get the wrong answer. So after a lot of practice, you can disconnect and you can get truth, but it's still sometimes dicey. So I disconnected from everything, just want to know the truth. I got no for both of them. And then they got elected. And I'm like, okay, how did I get that so wrong? But you know what I learned from that experience? It was a really good teaching moment. I didn't ask the question right. Because what if they somehow cheated and changed the election results? Then the way I asked the question would have been true, that they would have been defeated. But if they cheated to win, it wouldn't have shown up because I didn't ask that. What I should have asked was who's going to be seated in those states, right? Had I said, will McConnell be seated as a senator? And will Graham be seated as a senator? Or, you know, you can word it differently, but it's the outcome. So I didn't quite get it there. And it reminds me a little bit about, you know, the story of the genie in the bottle. You've got to be really specific in how you ask the question to get the truth. But that's probably way more than you want to know. So in a nutshell, it's practice, 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 which is what we do in that class that I teach, because it takes a lot of practice to start getting right answers. So if you're dowsing, douse about things that you're not emotionally connected to. Douse for friends. Douse about things like, you know, am I going to pass a red car on my way to work? You know, silly things that you don't have any emotion in, and see how many answers you get right. Keep track of it because that will build your confidence. When you start getting more right answers, your confidence will grow and you'll get more right answers. So it just builds from there. Let me know if that makes sense. How many books in the series? I think it's 10, but don't hold me to that because it's been a while since I looked at it. But for some reason, 10 sticks in my head. Starfish, time seems to be changing. Yeah, it really does. You know, there are times when it really feels accelerated because there's so much going on. But then there are other times where it seems to purposefully slow down. And of course, we can control that. In that example I was talking about earlier with Jesus saying time is fungible. It's what you focus on. If you focus on being present in the moment, attending to your own business, working on your spiritual growth, it will slow down because you're present in the moment. You're there. You're experiencing it moment by moment. But if you're in that mode of focusing on tomorrow and the future and what's going to happen next, then it just flies by because you're missing all those moments. It's like you're choosing to skip right over them. We don't want to do that. We want to be present in the moment. That's so important to our growth because if you're all the way out here, you're going to miss all the breadcrumbs that are here that are going to help you get there. Does that make sense, or am I being crazy here? Let me know. Warrior Girl, you just read the first 2 and then loaned them out and didn't get them back. Yeah. You could probably find them at the library. You know, they've been around so long, they probably are there. Starfish, you used to get real voices outside your head and you shut it down. Yeah, that's probably true of a lot of people. You know, somebody commented on one of my videos a while back that, yeah, I got voices too. And I'm schizophrenic. It was like, okay, yeah. If you hear voices, maybe you wonder if you're schizophrenic, but no, these are actual voices and I can validate through the messages that it's actually angels. But it hit me funny that this person was saying that. I don't quite know where they were going with that, but you know, it takes all kinds out there. But if the messages that you're hearing get validated, if you can connect them to something, if they make sense, then it's your angels and guides. You know, if it's something totally off the wall that's not related to anything, then, you know, maybe you want to go and get checked out. But for us, because we're here doing this work, your intention is to connect. So I would go with the belief that it's your angels and guides because that's what you asked for. And they always answer when you ask. Kay, you said there are 4 books in the series. Huh, I remember reading so many more than 4. That's funny. Maybe there was something about the numbering. So the numbers were different than the actual book. Maybe that's what it is that I'm thinking about. Magnolia Spiritual House, welcome. So glad you could join us. Oops, it jumped again. Hang on. Just had ya. Callista, any guidance for energetically frightening presences? You can't decide if what you've been feeling are angels or something else. Well, if it feels dark and frightening, it's probably not angels because they wouldn't do that to you. They always come with love and light, a very comforting presence. So a lot of people actually have entities attached to them, stalking them, hanging around because they're attracted to their energy or they have past life karma. You know, there's a number of reasons their spirits might be around. So if you feel there is one, you can do a clearing and send it away. That's one thing you can do. You could also, you're doing pretty well with the meditation. You could go into your connection with your guides and angels, get your meditation, and then at the end of it, when you're in that really deeply connected energy, ask them to explain to you what this is. See what you get. And if you're still having trouble, come on the 3rd Saturday and we can douse about that and get more information. Because whatever it is, it's bothering you, so you need to resolve it. You don't want to let it keep going on. Starfish, was Lemuria near Hawaii or in the Indian Ocean? Will they ever be seen? I think Lemuria is near Hawaii because when I was on Maui, they had a Lemurian spiritual center. I think that's the reason. But everything I've read or heard about, it was kind of in that general vicinity. So let's just ask, is Lemuria near Hawaii? Or was it? Wasn't Lemuria because it's no longer there, near Hawaii. Oh, you know what? You just gave me an idea for a better question. So I got a yes that it was near Hawaii. Did Lemuria raise its frequency so that we don't see it, but it's still there? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that connects with what we were talking about, right? That they raise their vibrational frequency. They're still there. We just can't see them because they slipped into that parallel dimension. So will we see Lemuria and Atlantis again? Oh, yeah. Because when we raise our frequency, we'll be there with them. We'll be able to see them. That's exciting. And just imagine what might be going on there with all this time they've had to work on it. Harry's mom, can you explain how we get specific answers from the records? You just get what comes, but not many answers to questions. Well, one way is the pendulum. When I want to ask yes and no type questions, I use the pendulum. Even when I'm asking just for general information, you probably noticed I'm using the pendulum. Now, it's not that I'm getting the answer from the pendulum. It's just part of my ritual now. There's something about holding the pendulum, even if it's not a yes or no question, that helps me focus. So that works for me. But for you, I mean, you could simply be in that meditative state and just ask. The thing that happens is that you'll get the answer, but it's like it's kind of niggling at the back of your head. It doesn't quite come into focus. And that's because it's something like, let's say you were trying to read a page in a book in the records while you're in meditation. That's really hard to do. It's hard for our third dimensional minds to wrap around reading a book in the Akashic records. That's why the messages are so often metaphorically, symbols, stories, what have you, colors, sights and sounds, because we can connect to that and get the message. We can figure it out. So this is the language they use to help us get the messages. But when you're getting something that's like a number or something very concrete, it's harder for that to come through, like reading the book. With practice, you'll be able to do that. So a lot of it is just relaxing. Whatever you think it is, accept that that's what it is. If you do that and you stop straining, trying to see or hear what it is, you'll get it. That's the problem. And that's the hump that we all have to go over. Those are like speed bumps, right? Those are the speed bumps that you get as you're learning and expanding your gift. So just relax into it, allow it to come. Whatever little bit of it you can see, be happy with that, write it down, and keep trying. It'll come at some point. And you can just ask different kinds of questions to maybe get it in a different way. So you can be creative about it too. But that's part of the fun of the journey. So if when you go into those situations, you can bring the element of fun, it'll help a lot. That'll help you relax and you'll get more of that information. So I hope that helps. Warrior Girl, you see it like bees, that we're all connected and yet unique, and then connected to the queen bee, the heavenly mother. Yeah, in a way, although we have the ability to communicate like the bees do. They're communicating telepathically. It's there for us. Just most of us aren't tuned into it. We're starting to get it. More people are, and we will get there in the future. And of course, a lot of the extraterrestrials communicate that way. So if we're from that planet, obviously we always have that ability. It just got stunted in some way through being here on Earth, being in this heavier energy. And of course, all the societal programming that took those things away from us. So it's all there for us. It's just a matter of leaning in, remembering, toning those muscles and doing it again. But the big part is when it starts coming, when you feel like it's there, believe that it's there and let it expand. It's when ego mocks you and says, you're making that all up. That's when you slam the door shut and then you don't get the information. So practice and be kind to yourself because it takes time. Most of us don't get this in the blink of an eye. It'll take a little while. Starfish, you grew up Baptist. You thought you were going to hell. Now you know there is no hell. Yeah, if there is a hell, it's here on Earth. It's what we're putting ourselves through, right? No, why would Creator do that to us? All those stupid stories about, you've got this loving deity who loves you so much, but if you do anything wrong, you're going to burn in hell forever. That's just, so contrary to the truth. Just nuts. But it was a way to control people. That's what it was all about. You know, this came from humans who wanted to control and master other humans. So they spun all these tales to scare them, because fear is the best way to control people. Scare them badly enough, they'll give up everything just for the safety that you're offering them. And that's what we have to work our way out of. And that's why this pandemic is so bad, because they've scared people so badly that they're getting sicker than they would have otherwise. They've scared them sick and made them dependent. Oh my gosh, talk about setting progress back, right? That's why we light workers have to redouble our efforts to help overcome this sooner, so we can get out of this crappy pandemic and start moving forward. Warrior Girl, the acronym Bible means basic instruction before leaving Earth. That is funny. I've never heard that before. Yeah, you know, the Bible is like a book of mythology. There's kernels of truth in there, just like there are in mythology, but there's also a lot that was put in there just to control people. Callista, much afraid you need to find the book. It's called Hind's Feet on High Places. The author is Hannah. I think it's Hurnard, Hurnard. You can find it on Amazon, but if you have trouble, just let me know. I'll find it for you and send it. LJ, thank you. You appreciate the knowledge and wisdom. You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate each and every one of you, because I'd just be sitting here talking to myself if you weren't here hanging out with me. And I feel your energy. That collective energy comes through and it lifts us all up, just like on our third Saturday gatherings. There we can see each other on Zoom, so it's even more potent, but even still here, because it's the intention for all of us to connect at this energetic level. So it's, you know, like we're all in this big band of energy together and levitating as we communicate here and share. It's really beautiful. Kay, you've used a keychain as a pendulum. Yeah, I have too, whatever's handy. And the other thing about that, you can also do body dowsing, which, you know, some of you probably seen it. It's also called applied kinesiology, you know, where you make the circle with your finger and you pull. So the way I was taught, if you pull and it holds strong, it doesn't break, that's a yes. And if it's weak and it comes through, it's a no. If you watch Cash Peters, he was playing with that recently, and he was doing it the other way. But the way it makes sense to me is just like when you do the arm applied kinesiology, if you're weak, it means no. If your arm goes down, that's a no. So if you're able to break your fingers, it's weak and it's a no. That takes practice, because what happens for you when you start doing that is you're really pulling hard. So of course you're going to break it. It's not meant to do it that way. It's really quite gentle. It will either gently just totally open up, or it will gently hold. So you don't have to pull all that hard. This one I find a little less reliable, only because there are variables with how you're holding it and your energy on that day. But if you use it enough, you can get really good at it and find that that works for you. And the cool thing is you always have that with you. Now you can also do a body dowsing where you stand with your feet just a little apart, you know, stand up straight, put your hands in front of your solar plexus. Excuse me. I need a drink. I've been talking too much. So you hold your hands in front of your solar plexus. And usually we use this one to find out if something is good or bad for us. So like, for instance, if you're trying to choose supplements, pick up one of them, hold it in front of your solar plexus. Ask, is this something that would benefit my body? Or if it would be good and nutritious, you know, however you want to say that. If it's a yes, you will slightly lean forward. If it's a no, you'll go backwards. And if it's neither, you'll just kind of stay in the middle. Now, again, that one, if you're holding yourself too steady, you're going to interfere with the results. You have to be flexible to allow the energy to pull you forward or back. Now, once in a while, you'll get one that's so powerful, it'll be like, woof, and you'll really feel it. So be aware of that. But I like to use it in the supermarket when I'm picking out fruits and vegetables. So, you know, you grab that bag of oranges, that watermelon, and you just hold it up. And you just ask the question, you know, is this the juiciest, tastiest, and will I enjoy it? And if it's yes, you'll lean forward. So it's a fun little thing you can try, but that's just another way of dowsing. And there are even more, but that's probably enough to share with you for right now, because I still have a few questions I want to get through here. Angelita, you ask about the pendulum because it will literally shake from top to bottom wanting to talk to you. That's awesome. that means your angels are trying to communicate with you, and that's the door that you've opened for them. So yeah, go do it. Enjoy it. And the thing about it is, I mentioned earlier, all the rules, like, you're supposed to do the cleansing and all that other stuff. If the rule doesn't work for you, disregard it, let it go. Like I said, I don't feel like I ever have to program another pendulum. I pick it up, even if it's your necklace, and I expect it to behave in the way that I'm used to pendulums behaving, and they always do. I don't need to program them, but people will tell you that you do. So that's one of those things. You go with what feels the best to you. In fact, with everything, it's always about choosing that thing that feels the very best to you. That is your right choice. Starfish, you use your pendulum to advise you on what crystals to wear daily. Yeah, I mean, you could do so many things with it. And like the thing with the supplements, sometimes it's not a single one. Sometimes it's a combination. So if you intuitively feel like maybe you need more than one, you can put them together and ask, is this combination for my highest and best good? And then you can mix and match till you find it. In fact, I learned this actually from this chiropractor in a horse clinic. He was teaching us how to do this dowsing for the horses. So it's like we had all these various supplements and remedies, and based upon what we knew about the symptoms the horse was exhibiting, we would select several, and then we would go through them each with one hand on the horse, right? Feeling for whether it was yes or no. And sometimes it would be a combination that was the most powerful reaction we got. So, I mean, the sky is the limit with what you can do with this stuff. It's really only limited by your imagination. So I encourage everybody to experiment with it, see what happens. Do it on stuff that doesn't really matter so much, but experiment and see what you can learn, because there is such a vast body of knowledge out there for us to tap into. We just have to figure out where the entry points are and how to access them. And those are, limitless. There's so many out there. Just like when you enter the Akashic records, depending on the prayer you use, you'll go into a different entrance. That's pretty phenomenal. So you'll have a different experience in there depending on how you go in. So if I'm using my pendulum just to do the yes and no questions, like I do when I do karmic readings to get the past life information, for that portion, I'm just dowsing the yes and no questions. So I go into a different portal of the records, and it's feeding me that limited stream of information until I'm ready to go get the story that goes along with what I found. And then I'm going deeper, and I'm actually seeing those lifetimes and what was the trauma that happened to them. How is that connected to their present life so I can help them? That's a whole different experience. So different prayers have that ability. And that's just something I discovered accidentally when I used a different prayer. I noticed, wow, it feels different. What I get when I'm in there is different. And so, a lot of this I've just picked up along the way and share it with you guys because, I've had the experience and I'm happy to share it so you can get there faster, because that's what we need to do now. Accelerate. Angelita, should you consider getting a board with letters and numbers? You had a profound Ouija experience 50 years ago and never used one again. If you felt a negativity about the Ouija board, then don't use it again. Some people use it and they're quite happy to. You can do the thing with letters and numbers if you want. What I do when I'm going to douse numbers is like, and I do this with past life stuff. This is a good example. So if such and such had this experience, how many past lifetimes ago was it? Was it more than 5? And if I get a yes, then was it more than 10? Until I can locate a chunk of time, and then I go through the numbers until I find it. So you can do that. Or if you were doing the alphabet, is the letter I'm looking for, or the word, does it start with a letter between A and M? So you don't need a board if you do that. But if you want a board, sure. They call it scrying, I think, if you do that thing where the pendulum literally energetically jumps to a letter or a number. I've not done that. I haven't had a need for that, but maybe that's something to play with as well. So whatever feels good to you is the right answer. And as you play with it, if you decide that doesn't work, great, let it go, find something else. But like I said, there's a limitless amount of ways to connect. So be playful with it. Ask your guides to inspire you and bring synchronicities to you. to help you find even more. You might find, for instance, that a certain crystal as a pendulum is more powerful than another. Maybe you resonate more deeply with that crystal. So all kinds of stuff like that. So Sabrina, you can use just about anything as a pendulum. Yeah, it's true. Absolutely. Angelita, you're so welcome. Warrior Girl, you had an awesome tiger's eye, but it disappeared from your room. You wish you knew what happened to it. Well, that would be something to dowse about. This is fun. You can use dowsing to find things. So, for instance, if you have 2 floors in your house, I'm looking for my tiger's eye pendant. First question, is it present in this house? If it is it on the first floor? Is it on the second floor? Right? Figure out what floor it's on. So you're narrowing it down. Then you could say, divide your house into, let's say, 4 quadrants, right? Is it the north, the south, the east, or the west? Or you could just go through the rooms. And then once you find the room that it's in, then divide that room into quadrants. Is it on the left? Is it the right? You know, like that. Until you find, you've narrowed it down to a very small space. And you might just find it. Doesn't always work because, you know, you're emotionally attached to finding that pendulum. So that might skew your results. But why not play with it? I have found things that way. Like one time my husband lost the gas cap on the lawnmower and the grass was kind of tall. So we would have had a really hard time finding this thing. And he didn't know where he lost it. So I just went out with my pendulum. I could have body doused too, but I used the pendulum just because I like it. It's comfortable. And so I divided it. You know, is it in front of me? Is it in back of me? Is it to the left? Is it to the right? That kind of thing. And just you keep doing that until you narrow it down. And I found it. There it was. Didn't take all that long either. It's really remarkable. So use it to find lost things. Okay, you jumped again. Where are you? Callista says, what was the name? Janet. I'm not sure what you mean. I don't know if somebody answered you, but if they didn't, maybe you can just ask it again. Warrior Girl, on average, outside of clients, how often do you connect with the Akasha? I'm always connected. I never break the connection. You know, there's another rule to break. I was taught that once you finish doing a reading, you do the closing prayer, you disconnect. I found I would forget. I was always forgetting, and then I would do it later. And then one day Metatron says to me, why would you want to disconnect? Because I was, you know, puzzling about this. Why am I always forgetting? And it was like, wow, you know, you're right. I don't want to disconnect. I always want to be connected. So as I'm going about my day, I'll just ask a question, have a little conversation. I'm always connected. It's like I know they're right there. So it's like turning to a friend and having a conversation. Does that make sense? Let me know. And there was no devil before medieval Christian times. Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know all the history of different societies, but there probably was some dark force because in all cultures, they had a way of controlling people. So there would have been something that they used. Yeah, and in mythology, they had Hades and they had Sharon, who took the souls across the river Styx, you know, so they had the dark underworld in mythology. And Books A Million is a great place to find books, not as pricey as Amazon. Great tip. Thank you. Yeah. So if you want to save a few pennies, check that out. Starfish says, Warrior Girl, go on Jen's World Tarot during a show and ask where your pendulum is, or ask Medium Alley's channel on Heart and Soul Connected. Cool. So I hope you got that, Warrior Girl. We'll be rooting for you to find your pendulum one way or the other. Callista, thank you for the angel something else guidance. I think that's a great help. Okay. I'm not remembering at this moment what it is, but I'm glad it helped. Starfish, how do you help people heal from something that happened in a past life that is affecting them in this life? Great question. So first I go find out, is there something from a past life that's affecting them in this life? And when I do the actual formal reading, there are things I'm looking for, specific damage, vows, contracts, you know, things that entities, I'm looking for these very specific things. Once I find them, then I go looking for what lifetime did it happen? Were they a male or a female? Was it a physical or an emotional trauma? Did it die? Did they die? Were they handicapped? Did they hurt somebody or did somebody hurt them? I mean, there's a whole process I go through to get the story. And as I'm doing that, I'm connecting energetically, and pretty soon I see the story in my head. I see what happened to them. So when I can see, like, oh, you accidentally drowned your baby 15 lifetimes ago, and you've been carrying the guilt of that ever since. And by the way, you felt so guilty that you gave up 2.5% of your soul facets to that baby's soul, trying to make amends, which was a really bad decision, because now your baby is carrying extra soul facets that causes confusion for them, and you're missing soul facets, which means you're not complete, and you're interfering with your connection with source. So it would be like that. Now, once they hear the story, then there's a 21-day clearing ritual that they go through that includes all the things that I found. So I do a custom ritual based on what I found, so that it clears and releases all of those issues. As soon as they get the story, they start healing, because knowledge is what we're seeking. And usually they'll know right away how it connects to present life. Oh, yeah, I always feel that guilt and I don't know why around my children, or I'm overprotective of my children. So, they'll be able to connect it usually, even if you can't connect it, because sometimes you just can't, at least in the moment. Later on, you probably do. Even if you don't connect it, the clearing will release it. Once you've done that and it's all gone, it's removed from that trauma, you're free of it in this lifetime. And then you're free to move forward and deal with other issues. Because when I do the karma reading, what they show me is only what you're ready for right now. So out of thousands of lifetimes, you've got these trauma that are appearing in this lifetime. That's what you're ready to clear. Not everything from every single lifetime. If that makes sense, let me know. Oh, that's interesting. Warrior Girl says that she asked Jen, but she said maybe she was better off without it because they're so powerful. You could douse about that, Warrior Girl, whether it would be to your benefit to find that tiger's eye. And if it's not, then you could stop looking, right? You would have that peace about it. Or maybe it found its way to somebody else who needed it and can put it to use. That's always a possibility. T-Barb says, you found nothing wrong with the Ouija board, but nobody will do it with you. And you were waiting for that answer to throw it out or not. It's just another tool. Yeah, absolutely. It's a tool. They only have the power that we give them. Just like words. People often think that spiritual folks don't swear, or they shouldn't swear. They put those limits on us. I can drop F-bombs with the best of them. They don't care. It doesn't matter. Words only have the power that we give them. Now, I choose not to use that kind of language when I'm talking to you guys, because I don't think it serves a purpose. But if I'm frustrated and I'm talking to them and I do, they don't care. It doesn't matter. It's just language, just like the Ouija board. If you believe it's evil, then it's going to behave that way because you're creating that reality. If you believe it's a tool, great, use it, enjoy it. Yeah. So we make a lot of trouble for ourselves just with our silly beliefs that somebody told us was true. That's why it's so important right now to question everything. Just because somebody else said it was a bad thing doesn't mean it's bad for you. It might be bad for them. Warrior Girl, it was the first and only pendulum that you owned, and it was a bag. It was in a bag with your tarot cards, and poof. Oh, bummer. So you lost the tarot cards too. Well, there's an idea. Why don't you try dowsing for the tarot cards? See if you can find them, because presumably they're still together. So Sprina, you ask for the body to show you a yes and no. You're left-handed and things don't always give you the traditional answer. Interesting. Well, try switching to the right hand with the pendulum and see if you get different answers. I find I write left-handed, but I do everything else right-handed except dowsing. I don't get the accuracy dowsing right-handed, so I douse left-handed, which is weird, I know, but experiment And maybe you'll find out you're ambidextrous and you can dowse equally well with either hand. But if you're not getting consistently good answers, probably just your confidence. So then that's the case where you go play games, douse on things that don't mean anything, douse for your friends. You know, you could, if you're in a group of people, you could douse about trying to figure out what their middle name is if you don't know it, or how many kids they have and stuff like that. Just things that you can get the validation pretty quickly to find out if you got it right. Because what you're striving for is to relax into it, to prove to yourself that you really can do this. You can get right answers, so that when you ask the ones that are a little more emotionally charged, you've got a better shot at getting good answers. It's just really, it's building that confidence muscle. That's all you need. And it took me a while to get there. I had to do a lot of practice dowsing before I got to a place where I really felt confident dowsing and doing readings for people and trusting. God forbid, I don't want to tell you that you're from some planet that you're really not, because I got it wrong. And, you know, I have run into people who have taken the training and they were walking around thinking that they were a different gift than they actually were, because they didn't have anybody who had practiced validate their results, which is really sad. But yeah, it happens. So getting validation is always good. When I teach that dowsing class, I encourage people to douse on things and then send me your list of what you doused on. I will validate it for you so that you can see that you were right or that you were wrong. And usually what happens is they get more right than wrong, but it's not perfect because they're still learning. So that's a little something extra I put into my dowsing class, just because I'm so firmly convicted that people need to get that validation to build the confidence. Because what is the point if you're not going to get correct answers? So that's just one of my little pet peeves. Starfish, you said, what specific things do you look for? I'm not sure what you mean, or if that was for me, so let me know. Warrior Girl, Starfish is asking, Warrior Girl, why don't you try finding one that resonates with your current energy? It was probably the Tiger's Eye stone that isn't meshing with you now. Maybe, yeah. And Warrior Girl responds, I will, thanks for the advice. Gut feeling, felt like it was stolen, but you just wanted to know if you were right. Yeah, those things will bug you, right? So it's nice to have that validation one way or the other. Oh, and you didn't lose the tarot cards, you still got them. Oh, that's great. Okay, so just the pendulum. Angelita, Warrior Girl, please let us know when you find them. Yeah, let us know. That would be cool. T-Barb, you can tell people what planet they're from. Wow. Yeah, I have a chart of the 22 planets that I know about. So when I douse, I've got them in columns. So this is another dowsing trick, right? So I've got like I think I have 3 columns with 2 or 3 rows, you know, and their groups in there. So I will douse, are they in the first column? Are they in the second column? Until I get a yes on they're in this column. Okay, so they're in the second column. Are they in the first row? Are they in the second row? Until I find out the column and the row. And then I go through the 3 or 4 that are in that column and row. Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? Until I get the right answer. I suppose probably if I wanted to take a little more time, I could just say, okay, tell me what planet they're from. And I would get the name of the planet would pop in. That actually does happen once in a while, or sometimes I'll get that before I douse it, but it's just a habit. I learned to do it that way, so I just continue doing it. And often it's faster, because when you're dousing it, you don't have that block that you have when you're trying to hear a specific word or number when you're channeling, if that makes sense. So it's just easy and fast. And you can do that with all kinds of things. Life lesson is something that I douse for, because everybody, when they incarnate, chooses a life lesson for that specific life, and it will change every lifetime. The planet never changes. Your gift, your planet, your soul specialty, those are part of your soul matrix that never change. But the life lesson always changes. So I've got a really substantial chart on that one. So again, it's just going through. Usually with that one, I find that I will feel it in my solar plexus when I start going through the options in that column and row, and I'll know it before I douse it. It just kind of clicks in. Starfish, in a reading, what specific list of things do you look for from the records? Well, in the soul introduction, I'm looking for the gift. I'm looking for the soul specialty of the tribe, the life lesson. I'm looking for their soul gender, because you have a soul gender, which may be different from your body gender. And if it is, you'll want to know that because you would have noticed. And having somebody tell you that is fabulous validation. So that's good to know. Like if I get a female body with a male soul, and I tell her that, very often she will say, yeah, I always felt like I had a lot of testosterone. It's not a surprise to them usually. And, you know, vice versa with the guy. If it's a guy with a female soul, very often they're a gentle guy who's in touch with their female side. So we switch back and forth because we want that more expansive experience. And we will do that until we've got enough, and then we'll probably stay the gender that matches our soul, because that is obviously a little more comfortable. So what else? Those are the main things. Then when I go into the karma, I'm looking for, you know, do they have old vows to God? Do they have vows to negative beings? Because they can show up. And those represent negative energy drains that we want to get rid of. Do they have old contracts that don't serve them anymore? You know, are they being stalked by an entity? You know, is there an earthbound spirit around? Do they have poltergeists or ghosts around? Because all those things are possibilities. So there's a laundry list that I go through. In the soul introduction, I also look at the God spark. I douse to find out what their vibrational frequency is, which I don't necessarily share with them unless it's relevant for them. I measure it because it helps me to know where they're at on their spiritual journey. Then I ask, what were they at birth? What was their frequency at birth? Because that shows me how much growth they've had up till now in this lifetime. So it just helps me to give them a better reading by doing that. But that's just something I've done, that I've added along the way because it felt right to me to do. Sometimes I will tell them, you know, this is your frequency, because it's germane to the conversation. Usually I don't, because then ego gets involved. Because then you want to start comparing, oh, you're this frequency and somebody else is that frequency. So we don't want to go there. That's not helpful. But it's helpful for me in sharing a vaster, more full-bodied reading with them to get that information. And there's more. It's just, you know, I don't have it all right off the top of my head here. So I actually have a database, a custom database I created to do these readings, because there's so much that I'm going through, all these charts and sheets to check on all this stuff, to bring it all together, to help them understand, first of all, who they are as a soul. And then if we're doing the past life, then what's the karmic issues that they have to resolve? And, you know, how did they get there? What was the trauma that caused it? I think we're almost at the bottom, and oh gosh, we're already at 9 o'clock. So if you've got any more questions, pop them in there quickly and we'll start wrapping up. Warrior Girl asks, are there other universes outside of ours? Yeah, there are. Like the Andromeda Galaxy that I told you, that's outside. There's a group of souls called the Blueprinters. They come from another dimension that we don't have on our maps. We don't know exactly where it is. We just know that's who they are. And they have been here since the beginning of the evolution of humans. They helped us evolve from that very primitive state to where we are now. So they come periodically throughout time whenever we're ready to have an up level in our evolution. So there's a lot of them here now, right now, helping with this evolution. Starfish, do people have questions or just open? Either both. You know, I do a channeled reading where they can just come and ask anything they want. We do a mini version of that on the 3rd Saturday. So if you're not on my mailing list, get on my mailing list and I'll send you a Zoom link so that you can join us. It's the 3rd Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we get together for, you know, 90 minutes, sometimes 2 hours. You can ask all your personal questions there. This live stream, we just do the metaphysical stuff. We don't get into the personal. And that's partly because it's private. the personal stuff very often. So when I upload that to YouTube, you don't see their faces. You only see my face. You'll hear their voice if they asked it audibly. But so that protects their privacy, and then they're able to ask some sometimes very sensitive questions. Plus, when we do it on Zoom, I can see them and I can connect with them easier and faster, which means I'm going to get more meaningful answers for them. It's a little harder to do it in this format. I still can, but it takes a little more effort, if that makes sense. And as far as having questions or being open, if somebody comes to me for a soul introduction, they usually will have some questions, but honestly, what I share with them in that soul introduction, which takes about an hour, is so vast. By the time we're done, they are just kind of like a deer in the headlights with all this information. It takes a while to process it. So I put it all into a written report and give them a recording because it just takes time. You're not going to get all that in that hour. A lot of it's just going to, wash over. You're going to get some of it. And it's really exciting learning about yourself, because who doesn't want to learn more about themselves, especially this magical stuff, right? But it takes time to integrate that into your understanding of who you are. And then you start connecting the dots. It's like, oh, well, like Warrior Girl said, her son's from Vega. So knowing that, and knowing that the Vegan people are just these light, bright sprites people who like to perform and be the center of attention. It's like, oh, that's why I've been always doing this all of my life. And I wondered why. So it explains you to you, things that you maybe had questions. Why do I behave this way? Or for me, it's like, how come I'm always asking questions? Because I'm a researcher. I have to go and ask the questions to get the information. But, I've actually been criticized for asking too many questions. And then it's like, oh, I'm supposed to do that. It's how my soul is wired. Like somebody who's a communicator, they are wired to speak a lot. But as kids, they get told to shut up a lot, which shuts their gift down, suppresses them. Then they have to relearn all that as they get older, if they're blessed enough to do that. So I hope that makes sense, because that's a lot of information. But yeah, it's a vast amount of information. It's hugely transformative. I think everybody, including children, should have it, because imagine as a child, if you knew these things about yourself, or at least your parents did, and they could guide you with that knowledge, how much further ahead would you be? Like the communicator, you wouldn't have to relearn how to use your voice, because you never would have lost it. You would have always known you were meant to use your voice. That's your golden ticket in the world. So yeah, it spans the gamut. But I really encourage all of you, if you're not on my mailing list, I'll give you the link to get on. You really should be, because we do that third Saturday every month. I've been doing that for, gosh, almost 3 years now. And it's, personal questions. You get the answers channeled to you. And sorry, typing and speaking are hard. Just be sure I got it right. Yeah. You get your answers. It's a fabulous, uplifting energy experience. I always leave it on a high. Probably the others do as well, because there's just so much potent energy there. It's phenomenal. And we would love to have you join us. Let me get back up here. You guys popped a bunch of new questions in on me. Okay. Raising your energy author. Oh, Heinz feet on high places. Hannah Hurnard, Hurnard. Susan says, thank you. You're so welcome, Susan. I'm glad you could be here. Stephanie, how is your frequency affected by the clearing process when trauma comes up? Well, your frequency is whatever you have raised it to at that point based upon your spiritual growth. So getting all that trauma cleared is just making the way for you to start raising it a little bit faster. But it doesn't impact it in any negative way. It's just clearing, as you would think. It's like getting rid of all that old clutter. And then it accelerates your process, because now you've made space. Probably, if you're far enough along on your journey, it's going to also help you be more connected to your angels and guides to get more of that information. Hope that answers your question. So Sabrina, you know that you can get answers, but when you're told it's a yes and it's a no, you get the opposite as your yes and no. Huh. I'm not understanding that, Sabrina. If you can come join us on the third Saturday, please come and bring your pendulum. Show me what you're talking about. and we can figure it out. But just off the top of my head, it just feels like you're not trusting what you're getting. And that's the problem. But, you know, try a different pendulum too. Experiment, because you might find one pendulum just works better for you than others. You know, I have quite a number of pendulums that I can use effectively, but I always go back to this one just because the way it's weighted just feels so comfortable and it's so easy. That has a lot to do with it. What do the blueprinters look like? Well, when they're here, they look like humans. I don't know what they look like on their planet. I haven't been there, and I would need to go and do some channeling to figure that out, which we don't have time for right now. But come back next month for the metaphysical chat. Ask me that at the beginning, and I'll see what I can get for you, because that would be a really cool question to dive into. Warrior Girl is, did you mean Earth, Akash, the same as the galactic? If that's what you meant, it might be slightly different, but it's going to be pretty close because Creator made it all. Creator made all of us. So the concept is going to be the same. There might be just, you know, slight differences based upon different rules, perhaps. Like the people from Andromeda, the angelic dimension, they do have different rules. So for them, it's a little difficult integrating into the society. And that presumably would show up in their records. Whether it would affect the information, I can't imagine that it would, because they're going to get from their records what is there. So if I understand what you're asking, I don't think it's going to be affecting them in that way. We're all accessing what's in our personal record, which is based upon our lifetimes of experience. So it's there for us to dive into. Yeah, okay, you did say Earth, okay. T-Barb, medium Kim thinks you're Palladian, but you hadn't heard of them and you've been reading about them. Yeah, there are a lot of Palladians here right now. Some of that information you're going to Google is good and some is bad. So use your intuition about what feels right to you. But yeah, it's quite possible. If you find that you're somebody who is very spontaneous, you've got these grand visions, but you somehow have a little trouble bringing them to fruition. You can see them, you can be enthusiastic, and you can get started on them, but then you kind of fizzle out in the middle. You need help to get to the end. That's probably a Palladian. That's one of their very well-known traits. Warrior Girl, where do you get the info to read on them? You mean about the soul tribes? When I first took my Akashic training, that was part of it. It was the curriculum. So that's where I got it. And since then, when I do the work, every once in a while I get new information. So I'm adding that. So what I have is going to be different than probably what other people have, because what I will get spontaneously during a reading is, it's true about that soul group or that planet, but it's specifically for that person. So I'm presuming other people who are doing that kind of work are getting the same thing. So they probably got different information than I do as well, which accounts for why you're going to find differences out there. And then you have to factor in the fact that some people are better at getting this information than others. So you always have to use discernment when you take that, even with what I'm telling you, because what I tell you sometimes may not resonate, and that's perfectly fine. You know, your reality might be slightly different than mine, and the truth for you is going to be different. That's part of our responsibility as sovereign souls, to figure out what those truths are for us and go with that information, if that makes sense. Starfish is suggesting that you look up Braca Goldsmith, who channels Palladians. Yeah, I've seen her a few times. Warrior Girl, you're dying to know more about Andromeda. You can Google, I think there's some information out there. I don't know if it's going to satisfy you, but take a look and see what you can find. Chris says, Diane from Diane's Tarot channels a Palladian. Okay, cool. There's a lot of people out there who do channel Palladians. And somebody earlier was asking about the Arcturians. There's this guy, Daniel Scranton, who channels Arcturians. He's not my cup of tea because he does it in this really weird way. or he looks like he's an alien from another planet that's maybe bird-like. I don't like that, but you might. And the information is probably very good. I couldn't stand watching it long enough to find out. And that's on me, not him. I don't like that kind of channeling, but you know, we all have to find the ones that resonate with us, but he channels them, and he has quite a large following. So he seems to be pretty well known. I think he channels some other groups as well, but the Arcturians seem to be the primary one for him. And T-Barb, you subscribe to Gaia, and it's hard to find information. I don't know what that means, but I'll take it that the two of you worked it out. Warrior Girl, your oldest got you a subscription, but it ran out. Oh, for Gaia. Okay, gotcha. So that's not for me. So you say thank you. Enjoy chatting. Yes, I'm always happy to have you here, each and every one of you, because you bring your own unique energy, and that makes it different every time, which is really exciting. You know, sometimes these questions will come through, which will open these doors and take us on a tangent, bringing forth new information, which is incredibly exciting. I'm going to have to go back and watch this thing to get that new information that somebody asked me about early on. I'm forgetting what it is now, but something new came through about, I think it was about one of the planets. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going back and getting that myself. You are so welcome, everybody. Starfish, what's the best way to heal your sacral chakra? You could do healing meditations. You could do tapping. I mean, Reiki, pranic healing, pretty much whatever resonates with you. I don't specifically do a chakra healing. I haven't felt a need to, but if I did, I would probably tap, or maybe I would do the meditation, because I find that for me, when I go into these meditations, I'll get some kind of a healing experience if I need it. You know, it's either pouring in through my crown chakra, or it's going to another chakra where it's needed. So for me, that's the most powerful way, but you've got to find the one that works the best for you. And there's all kinds of people out there who are claiming to do chakra healing. So you might find a lot more answers out there than that. Pranic healing is very good. And I do have an amazing pranic healer who is part of my third Saturday gatherings. So, you know, if you want to know more about that, that would be a great place to come, and you could meet him there, because he's almost always there. Oh, and Starfish, you're saying the Palladian sounds like an Aries. Yeah. I don't know that much about the astrology signs. I don't follow that, but quite possibly. I know there's connections, and one day maybe I'll learn more about that. But right now, I don't know that. Nima, you're now a VIP and you're looking forward to it. Awesome. I can't wait to see you on the third Saturday. Starfish, Daniel Scranton will send you emails with written messages. You don't have to watch. Oh, cool. Yeah, except I don't have time to read anybody else's stuff. I'm so overwhelmed with things at the moment. But yeah, if that resonates with you, go check it out. Chris, you use your pendulum to open your chakras per Diane's tarot. Cool. Yeah, I don't feel a need to do that because I'm so often connected to the records. So that's spontaneously happening for me when I'm connected. I'm always getting healing energy. So I don't even have to worry about it, which is really cool because I got enough stuff to worry about. You know, I'm writing books, I'm trying to run a business, I'm doing these YouTubes, and I'm being pulled in a million directions. So one less thing to worry about is really great. So it really depends. If you connect more and you allow that healing to come through, then those things will just be spontaneously dealt with, unless it's something big in past life that needs a little extra care. But yeah, I mean, find the method that feels the best to you. That's always the right answer. They say that over and over. Always what feels best for you. You are the final arbiter because you are a sovereign soul. Always comes back to that. Oh, close to how do you sign up for the reading? You go to my website and I have a list of readings that I do. You can find it there and you can, you know, pick the thing that works the best for you. And if you have questions, just shoot me an email. And like I said, I do mini versions of the some of the past life stuff on the third Saturday, because people will come and they'll ask specific questions. So I'm not going through and looking for all the blocks and doing the clearing, but if they've got something that they feel is connected to a past life, or they wonder, you know, they can ask that question, then I'll dive in and see what I can find out. In, you know, the few minutes that each person gets, I can't go very deeply, but still, you know, if you're needing help with something, that's a great way to get a quick answer. And then if you need more, you can always book a reading and we can dive in deeper for you personally and see what we can get. You work every Saturday, Starfish. That is a bummer. Yeah, so Sabrina, you work Saturdays. I'm sorry. You know, no matter when I schedule it, somebody's going to get left out. So for right now, Saturday at 11 a.m. is what works best for me, and I have to be there. So that's kind of the way it's worked out. And that's the other reason I'm doing this first Monday in the evenings, because those people who can't make the Saturdays very often can maybe the 7 o'clock on the Monday. So I'm doing that. And right now I don't have any room to add anymore, but you know, if I can manage to squeeze some more in, I will try, because the need is large and we have a lot to do. And if I can help you get rid of some of those blocks so that you can be more effective and move forward faster, then bless us all, we need that. Angelita, you're now VP. Awesome. Thank you. I'm so excited to have you join us. Chris says, Starfish, under playlist videos, several options. Pendulum works perfectly. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that's in reference to, but I'm trusting you guys have that. All right, so it's almost 9:30 now, so I'm going to sign off. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Please share with other people. Let them know this resource is available to them, because the more people we get it out to, the faster we can all move forward, get out of this godforsaken pandemic and move back more into our spiritual growth, because we're ready. It's time. So wishing you all, oh, one more. Sabrina, you've got many, but when you ask, they show you yes and no. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you just have to play with that and maybe get a partner. Get a partner to play with you and experiment with asking questions back and forth. First, you want to find out, is it a specific pendulum that works better for you? Because it might be. But my feeling in my sacral chakra says it's just confidence. That's all it is. You've just got to keep practicing. So having one or two partners to practice with will help you grow in leaps and bounds. But it's just consistent, regular practice is what it takes to get you there. And you will, because you've got the desire. So just keep at it. Oh, thank you all, you guys. Much appreciation for you. All right, now I'm going to hit the end button.